Welcome to The Author Next Door, where hosts Angela Haas and Cassie Newell chat about the wild world of writing and publishing. Join them for weekly episodes and special monthly guests. Pull up a chair. The conversation starts now.
Welcome to episode 34. I'm Cassie Newell, and I'm here with my co-host, Angela Haas. And this month, we're talking about growing your author business. This episode, we're talking to the amazing Sacha Black. I'm so excited that you're here, Sacha. Welcome to the show. Just to give a little introduction to who you are, Sacha writes under the pen name Ruby Rowe and writes lesbian fantasy romance. She loves a bit of magic with her smut and will read anything as long as the characters get down and dirty. When she isn't writing, she's beasting herself at the gym or wandering the world on her next adventure. She also writes nonfiction for writers as Sacha Black. She lives in England with her wife, son, and her 2 devious ragdoll cats. Welcome to the show, Sacha. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're talking all about growing businesses, right? And you've had an amazing 2 years, really, in growing your business. And yeah, I just wanted to start off with maybe telling our listeners a little bit about how that all got started and that journey.
Started this specific pen name.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was writing as Sacha Black, writing lots of nonfiction, kind of sharing all the lessons that I was learning, doing lots of freelance. And I realized that everything was feeling a little bit too much like a job. I quit my day job in order to create a business that felt like a business rather than just creating another job for myself. And I felt at that point that I was kind of in a job. And at the same time, I'd stumbled across a young adult sapphic book and I got really emotional. And I was like, oh my God, like, is this what everybody feels like when they read? And then, like, Monster Sasha just started devouring young adult sapphic books. And then I stumbled across a spicy adult sapphic romance. And it was like extra on the spice, and it just changed everything. And I was like, what is this? And like, how have I not read this before? And it was like opening Pandora's box, and I just couldn't unsee what I'd seen. And so all of this was happening at the same time. And I just kind of thought that if I was going to take a major risk, essentially, with spending time writing fiction that I had no idea if it was going to sell, and not write another nonfiction book immediately, which was selling, then I was going to do something that I was really deeply passionate about and something that was like the truest thing that I could write. So I did. And then I released it in 2023, February 2023. And then I started doing TikTok in November. I went viral in December. And then it just kept climbing. So yeah, what year is it? 2025. So we're just over 2 years.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah. So that's kind of like how it started. And I think literally I'm going to go from 0 to 1 million in 3 years. So I'm pretty sure that that's what's going to happen. We're on track to do it this year. So I think that is what's going to happen.
That's amazing. And I think I remember, though, that moment that, I mean, we've been watching this unfold in your Rebel Authors group, but which is sadly not really there anymore. But I kind of remember the moment when you posted something in the group, and it was like this unhinged story. It was either like the man that has sex with like 2 alien women at the same time, and then there's a love child
Doorknob one.
or was it the doorknob shifter romance? And it was like blowing up everywhere, getting crazy reviews, and you're just like, write whatever you want, folks. Like, just, you know what? Because I'm over here like really overthinking every detail about, is this going to appeal to people? No, you know what? I'm writing what I want too, still wanting to be commercial, but what does it feel like now to you're just writing what you want, whatever you want? What does that feel like?
So let me caveat that with I still suffer with trying to please readers. Like that
Hmm.
doesn't go away. And I
Right.
do think like that is a battle that even though arguably I could probably write anything and do okay because I have
Hmm.
built up an audience, I still want to deliver something that readers want. So
Hmm.
like, and definitely with this latest release, it was the hardest book I've ever written because I was writing it in public. I made a lot of
Yeah.
mistakes with announcing what I was writing before I'd finished it. That I'm never doing that again. I'm never telling anybody what I'm writing until it's written because the pressure that you have and the amount of opinions that people have on what you're writing. Oh, I really hope it's this. And then I'm like, oh shit, well, I'm not doing that. So like now,
Right.
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
people aren't going to
That's
like it. Oh,
tough.
sorry. Am I allowed to say naughty words?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
Yes.
Cool, 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 cool. Yeah, and it's like, you know, the bigger your platform grows, the more readers there are, the more opinions you have to block out. And
Mm.
so that is probably like the biggest lesson that I've learned is not to tell anybody what I'm working on until the draft is done and then I can't change it, you know. So that is basically the only thing I'm going to be talking about is the sequel to this book. And actually I'm going to be working on other things as well because I'm trying to like expand my publishing timeline and have more time in my schedule. But I mean, how does it feel? Like pretty fucking good.
It
Like
does, I imagine.
broadly speaking, pretty amazing, you know?
Yeah.
Like it is the dream and I really genuinely every day. Okay, so this is the story. December 2023, I am a lover of coffee. So even though, so in February 2023, on the 10th, I released a game of Hearts and High. I was making, before I released any Ruby books, I was probably making 2,500 British pounds on a good month. On a really good month, I might tip 3,000. But that didn't really leave anything at the end of the month. Kids are expensive, you know,
Hmm.
like you've got a mortgage. Like I wasn't really able to save any money. There wasn't really anything left over. And even though I released Hearts and Highs, and that alone did a couple of grand on its own, that one book in that first month, because I hadn't been releasing Sacha Black books, my income had gone down. So it only came back up to where it was. And, you know, February, March, April, May, June, July, I think I released the last one in that book in December. And I was still only really making, yes, I remember that was it because I was in Vegas giving the keynote and I was
Hmm.
so close to hitting 3,000 Amazon alone, which would have been like a personal best for me. And I did it by the skin of my teeth. But I still remember it was Christmas and my son's birthday is at the end of November. And I really, really wanted the Nespresso advent calendar. I'm like obsessed with advent calendars and I really wanted it. And it was £37 and I couldn't afford it. And I just couldn't justify it. I didn't have the money. If I brought that for myself, I wouldn't have been able to buy something for my son. So I didn't do it. And I really thought about asking for it as my Christmas present. And I was like, oh, but if I do that, then everybody else will be opening stuff for Christmas Day and I won't. And I was like, okay, I'm just not going to do it. And that month, I went viral and I earned 6 grand on Amazon. So I went from just barely scraping 3 in November to doubling in
It's
December. And then
amazing.
January was 8. And by April, it was 17, I think. And then it just kept going and going and going. But that is what I hold on to, that feeling of wanting something that seems small and insignificant was actually really meaningful to me. And like, I still remember the following Christmas last year being able to buy that. And every single day I had a moment of gratitude being able to drink that cup of coffee. And I know this is like such a trivial story, but like,
But
I
No,
it's
don't know
it's
how,
not.
not.
I
It's
just
not.
don't know how else to explain the level of gratitude and like
Hmm.
joy that this journey has created for me. Coffee.
Well,
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that really talks about too the growth of your audience, right? And before then, you've already built an incredibly loyal audience through your podcast and the Rebel author community. One thing I wanted to ask you is what's your advice for authors trying to cultivate that same kind of long term reader engagement? Is there a special sauce?
I think there's a few things. The first thing is like, do you know what you stand for?
Hmm.
To be like some big woo-woo branding, yeah, like all of that stuff helps. But it's like, what meaning or emotion or value do you stand for that people can connect with, right? So in The Rebel Author, for me, it was all about misfit, right? None of us felt like we belonged. And so like I opened my arms and told you all that you belong to me. Like we belong together. We belong to each other. We are there for each other because we don't belong anywhere else. Like that was what made us special. With the Ruby stuff, it is very much, I think, about giving them something that they haven't had, right? Like there was no adult romantasy that was spicy. It could be about sexual empowerment for the queer community. It could be about leveling the playing field and the fact that there's tons of straight romantasy with spice, tons of dark romance for straight people, but there's nothing for queer people. So that's part of it. And I think the other part is the type of prose, which sounds ridiculous, but I get a lot of people with dyslexia and ADHD telling me that my books are the first books they've ever been able to sit down and read. And I don't know what that is, but it makes it very accessible to people. So, yeah, and there are certain things that I stand for. So I stand for fast burn spice, slow burn emotion.
I love that.
Yeah, and that is an accessible fantasy. That's the other thing. So I get a lot of people telling me, I've never really liked fantasy, but I could really get into yours. And I'm like, yeah, because I don't write epic fantasy. I write really, easy to understand, accessible fantasy. And I suppose I also write fantasy in the spice as well, because it's like that thing, we want the obsessive girlfriend as book girlfriend, just like all of the straight women want the obsessive, would burn the world down for you boyfriend, right? And nobody was doing that. So yeah, I guess those are kinds of the kinds of things that I do. So in terms of like advice for writers, like what do you stand for? What are the values? What are the emotions that you're going to be giving to readers? I give fast burn spice, they're getting their smut straight away, but slow burn emotion. So I grab them and I hook them, and I do not give them the release that they want until the end.
Right.
And so being able to identify that means that you can do that consistently in all of your books. And that's where the branding comes in, right? Because then people know what they are coming to you for. They know. It was really interesting. So I was being interviewed yesterday and she was like, oh, what have you done differently in this book? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. Like, it's the same, but different, right? Like, so the dressing is different. The characters are different, but you are going to hate me at the end with the cliffhanger, and you are still going to come back for more because you have to know what happened. So it's like, you have to know. And so I think that building a readership is about understanding what you stand for, what the emotions are that you're giving to readers, and then understand, like watching them, like what do they react to? What are they obsessive with? What is it that makes them gag? Like what is it that they keep mentioning, and then you do that over and over again. Yeah, I don't know if that is tangible enough.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that, I love your fantasy, and I knew why, but like there was something else about it that was easier for me to read. And it is that you have world building and you've created your own universe, but the world building isn't what came first. Because I'm reading a very popular romantasy right now, Trad Pub author, and I'm bored to death because I can't say who it is because it's like one of the most popular ones out there, but like all the world. There's 50 different characters right away that I have to keep track of. And the lands, and this land has these rules, and this land has these rules, and this one. And that before we've even I don't even know if I care about the characters yet. And I'm in this world already. And it's not that it isn't masterfully done. And it just isn't my type of fantasy. I love the fantasy genre, but that's why I liked yours, because it was easier
Yeah.
for me to read. Maybe that means, I just got attached to the characters right away.
Yeah.
And I didn't lose myself into trying to keep track of the world they were in. It was still beautiful, but it wasn't the main thing. And I think that is also something you've hit on, because it just like, I felt like this other one, it was like Lord of the Rings on steroids. And I was just like, oh my God, I don't have time. Like, I can't,
There's a place
and
for
that
that, though,
there
right?
is,
Like, there
there
is a place for
totally
that.
is. It's not, and that's why I said that's just not for me. Obviously, it's successful. I really want the characters more than anything. I need to attach to them immediately or I put the book down. And that's what you do masterfully, because I was like,
And
"Oh,
Angela,
okay,
you do it really well as also your characters shine on the page because they're very individualistic too, I
thank you."
think. And I find I like writing fast too. And I find it really interesting because in sci-fi, sometimes I like to read sci-fi and watch sci-fi, but I only like it as a backdrop.
Mm-hmm.
Only as a
Yeah.
backdrop. I feel that way in fantasy. I have to be in the mood for the other. My moods change too to what I read, but yeah, I totally get that.
So I have two things to say about that. One is about backdrop, and that's something that I learned about myself. And the other one comes back to knowing what you're good at when you write. And actually, I suppose these are all interconnected. Everybody drink. But Clifton strengths.
Yeah.
I very much write to my Clifton strengths, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I write fast paced because I have activator. I am
Mm-hmm.
always going to write fast. I am incapable of writing a slow book. And I have learned the hard way not to try and write a slow book. So Dark Academia is by its nature slow because
Mm-hmm.
it is
Oh,
sweet.
that's
Is there's lots of kind of intellection and thought, and there's not huge amounts of action. Pure yellow, I write high stakes, high conflict, high action, fast pace. Like, what the fuck was I thinking trying to write Dark Academia? And I was like, why am I in a massive reading slump? Why have I been in a reading slump for a fucking year? Well, because you've been trying to read Dark Academia, which thematically I love, because
yeah.
obsession, moral decay, both like right up my street. But I like Dark Academia as setting and as dressing, not as
It's a backdrop.
the genre. Yeah.
Yes.
So I really struggled to read Dark Academia books. And it's because they were so slow. And of course, I fought myself all the way through Architecture because it was supposed to be Dark Academia. It isn't. It is Dark Academia dressing is what it is. And knowing that, and knowing how I've ended the book in order to write towards my strengths in book 2.
Nice.
Yeah. And so I think that is something, when you understand how your strengths look on the page, you are able to lean into that and then lean into your zone of genius. And I think that is really important. Like, I just need to stop trying to write literary fiction or anything else like
Right.
that. That's not what I do. And it's not what I
Yeah.
do well. So,
And
yeah.
you're talking to two high yellows too.
Yeah. Number one, strategic. And I really have to work hard at layering the emotion in. And that's what my
Yep.
editors are like, this scene is great, but their mother died. I feel like she should cry or something. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that tracks. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
see. She was sad. She got sad. Okay. And then the firefight, I just get so like putting that puzzle together. Input is 5, activators 4, and individualization 2. So I like writing fast, but I like reading fast too,
Mm-hmm.
because I want to turn the page and just devour a book. And I've been in a reading slump too. But I think leaning into those strengths and understanding your personality, for those listeners who may not know what Clifton's strengths are or want to take that test, but like understanding what you're good at and not fighting it. I'm not good at like world building. When I wrote the sci-fi, I just wanted to put characters in space. I was like, I'll just make up a planet and they're just there for a while, but they're really just, it's about the superheroes.
You
But
should DNF that book. I'm not even kidding. Like, you should seriously DNF it, because that is what has enabled me to get back reading. Like I went
Yeah.
on holiday and I
Yeah.
just read 17 books in 2 weeks because I
Wow.
actually allowed myself to read what I actually love.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and now because of Cassie, I'm reading like a 550-page book and I've nearly finished it in 2 days. Like it's just because
But
I'm
it's
reading
the
what I
best
actually
book.
love. It is the best book ever. But
What
I'm
book
reading.
is that? What book is that?
Well, it's a
No one
series
told
by
me.
J.R. Ward. Well, because you don't
Oh,
like the
okay.
smutty smut, Angela. So, and it's very smutty.
Can do some of it. Jeez.
We'll talk after. I
Okay.
will get you hooked and we'll talk after.
But you
As
have
long
to
as
give
it's
yourself permission to read what you really love and
Yeah.
just get rid of what you don't.
okay.
Yeah.
I was just forcing it because sometimes I just want to be like, well, this is like the most popular thing right now. Maybe I can learn
Yeah.
something. I should know what this is about. And then some of it's just like, it's just not for me. It's not
And
for
I
me.
think-
And that's okay.
You can only learn something if you really enjoy it. Because
That's
if you
true.
don't enjoy it, what are you trying to learn?
Right. My eyeballs are bleeding and I was like, must finish chapter 42. And I just couldn't. So
I
you're
know,
right.
and you get
Yeah.
to some points where you're like, I just need to finish it because I've already put in so much time. I don't know. I'm
Right.
at this stage in my life where I'm
Huh.
like, nope, not anymore.
Yeah.
Not anymore. I just am like,
Don't
nope.
have time for that. So
Yeah.
I have a question because I think there's listeners that are going to be like, okay, how did you do that? You know, as far as like mastering TikTok. And what if TikTok isn't for you, like me? The thing I struggle with is like TikTok works best and your videos are genius. It's you talking about your book. It's you showing your book. It's you. And people can also attach to you. I don't like videos of myself. It's not my style. I don't know what to say or how to be. And I just don't feel natural doing that. Or I can talk like this, but not what you do. And then I'm like, well, am I ever going to make it if I can't cross that plane? You know, I don't know. That's kind of hard.
There are a million different authors making money a million different ways.
Right.
I think you really have to, first of all, what is your goal? Are you trying to make $1 million a year? First of all, is that your goal? If that's not
Sure.
your goal,
Yes.
is it
That's like, well-
actually your goal? Though? It is actually your goal. Is that your goal?
Okay. I'd settle with half. That's yes, I need to make
Okay.
money. This is
Okay.
not my hobby. I need to
Then-
make money.
Tough conversation. Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how you get visibility, but you do need it.
Mhm.
So you have to make a tough decision. It doesn't have to be social media, but if it's not social media, it probably has to be advertising.
Right.
If it's not advertising, you need to go and do some work and have a look in the realm of authors to see how authors are finding traffic. Because this is a game of traffic. Traffic is visibility. And, you know, you can go to events and you can hand sell books, but you are not going to hand sell £500,000 worth of books at
Right.
book events. You're not. You might
Right.
sell 1,000 in a day, but you can't do 500 events in 365 days. You just can't. So you have a tough choice. Like you can either do social media or you can do advertising or you can find something else. Now, on social media, you don't always have to have your face. There are lots of different ways you can use social media. It doesn't have to be face to camera, but you do have to face the fact that if you want to make $500,000 a year, you have to reach readers. So what way are you comfortable with doing that? Nobody can tell you it has to be face to camera, because also if you are awkward on camera, that's going to show. And either you make awkward your thing and make that a part of your brand, or you don't do it.
Right. It's naturally woven in to my brand, awkwardness. It's always there. So I guess I could capitalize.
Yeah, you could. You could lean all the way in and be extra awkward on camera, and then people will connect with that authenticity, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, ultimately, you have to choose your poison. Which poison are you more comfortable with? Are you analytical? Do you like tweaking ads? Do you like data? could you lean more into your yellow strengths and be on camera? Or if you don't want to be on camera, go and do some research and look at how authors who aren't using their face are driving traffic. Facebook ads are different to Amazon. Personally, I've actually turned off all my Amazon ads. I'm actually not using any advertising at all now. I'm only using social media, but I do use Instagram and TikTok equally.
Yeah.
But I also recognize that isn't for everybody. And I know a ton of 7-figure authors not using social media. So I don't think it is the only way. At the moment, me personally, I don't know too many other ways other than advertising or social media. But that might just be because I have a limited capacity at the moment for doing research and finding out what other people are doing in the community. I am sure there are other people generating traffic in other ways, but I'm not an expert on that.
Yeah. I want to talk about
Yeah,
how
that's
you've
great.
grown to having your own bookstore. Like that often means, investment, right? Whether, like you talked about, whether it's marketing and advertising or outsourcing, even when you think about those activities. And I think it started off with Kickstarter, but correct me if I'm wrong. But how did you decide, like, at that point where you're growing so much and you're utilizing Amazon as a retailer, then you go to Shopify, or maybe you went to Kickstarter first, I'm not sure, tell me which way. But then after that you decide, you know what? I'm going to have my own warehouse and I'm going to have my own store. Like, how do you get to that point?
Okay, so Shopify came first, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Shopify first. And so I went viral on December the 8th. By December the 13th, I had Shopify live. Basically, I was like, oh, I have a lot of traffic coming to me and I'm directing everybody to Amazon. So I want to do that. So,
Right.
And in fact, I actually had Shopify up on the 10th. So it took me 2 days. I had it up on the 10th, but it was like properly live. So I got some sales in on the 10th, 11th, 12th, but then I had all my products on by the 13th. And essentially, it was a very quick decision, recognizing that I was generating a lot of traffic and I didn't want to just give all that traffic to Amazon. So I set up a minimum viable Shopify, literally did the best that I could. And then I just let it grow and grow and grow. So when I had the Shopify, it was connected to a printer that was essentially like an Amazon printer for me. They would print all my books for me. That continued for a year. So it wasn't until December. So that was December 23. By December 24, I was making 10 grand a month on my website.
That's
So within it,
awesome.
I went from 0 to 10 grand a month in a year.
Wow.
Yeah. And once I hit 5 figures, I was like, that's quite a lot of money now coming in. And I was like, maybe I can do more. I had a few issues. The complaint rate was rising just because of the volume that I was doing. The packages were ending up damaged on arrival. I was not appreciating that customer experience. And I also realized that I wanted to encourage people to come back. And I wanted the flexibility to be able to put more in the boxes and potentially sign books. And that was mostly what people wanted when they came to me. They wanted signed books. I couldn't really do that in an easy mechanism. We were doing it, but it was very clunky. And that was thanks to the printer being really flexible and great to work with. But come January, I was like, no, I need to do something different. We were also running bigger Kickstarters. So the first Kickstarter so we launched Shopify in December 23. The first Kickstarter, I think, was February or March 24. The second Kickstarter happened later that year, I want to say, and then the big Kickstarter this year was March. So by January, I was like, no, I need to do something. I had started TikTok Shop, and there were boxes everywhere, and it was not good. It was like 1 week in the house, and I was like, no, I'm done. Like this, it has to get out of my house. So I went and found a very cheap warehouse to rent. To be honest with you, the investment was probably 20 grand. I probably dropped 20 grand on rent, deposit, print run.
Oh, yeah.
Hardboard.
Especially on the print run.
Like racking, and all that, the build cost, the time cost. So we got it up and running within about a week. We had the deliveries on the
Crazy.
17th of Feb, and by the 20th of Feb, we were live.
Wow.
And I instantly went from 10 grand to 15 a month just
Wow.
because, and I think that was purely down to the videos and the fact that I could show things in a more aesthetically pleasing way. And then I went from 5 to 28.
Well, and also people are saying, I'm buying from you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very different.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
we were able to do freebies. We were able to do little bits and bobs in there, everything as a standard consigned. So yeah. And then we had, I think, 2 or 3 months at 28,000 every single month. And then we sort of fluctuate now between 15 and kind of 30. But also it enables me to do things like pre-orders. So we're approaching 1,000 pre-orders for Architecty on my website. So you just
It's
can't,
amazing.
like, yeah, it's absolutely nuts. But that means that we can give extras. So like what keeps people coming back is that, they're going to get that book early. I can actually release it and ship it to them early. I will sign everything. They'll get bookmarks. They'll get character art cards, a sticker, and they're getting more. We're still in profit. Like everybody's happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is one of the most important lessons too, is like making each purchase feel special.
Exactly.
That's what I learned when I walked into a Tiffany's. When you walk into Tiffany's, no matter what you buy, they put it in the blue box, they wrap it in tissue, they put it in the bag, and you're like, I just bought something at Tiffany's. Yes, it was a sterling silver bean for $100, but still, it counts. And I felt special. And, Victoria's Secret used to do that, but that's what we do in our retail. It's the packaging, and there's costs to that, but the packaging and the experience of what they get when they open the box and they feel like this person makes me feel like what I bought was special. And
Yeah.
that's huge that you're able to do that. But there's costs to that as well, but it's still worth it because, person just getting a book in a box versus all the freebies, the bookmarks and everything is enhancing the whole purchase. That's a huge part of it. Where do you print stuff like that? Like someone might be asking though, like where do you get, because again, like there's such a push not to use AI for anything, for graphics or visuals or anything. You found a really cool illustrator. And even that work of finding people to do those kinds of things for
The
you.
character art, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
It
we
seems
commission a
daunting.
lot of artists. And I say we, it's now the royal we, it's no longer me doing that. So I can't really take credit for it. Some of it has been people have done fan art, and then I've gone, let's keep it in the community, commission them to do something else.
Okay.
Some of it has been research, and I look at a lot of other people's Kickstarters, and we look at who they're tagging as their artists. Book boxes, you look at who they're tagging. Obviously, there's a real swing in price range. We also look at Fiverr. You do have to be careful on Fiverr to check their AI policy. But yeah, we work with a ton of artists, and honestly, it is literally the dog work of just searching, but being clever about how you search. So like Kickstarters are always going to have artist tags. So that's a great place to
That's
start.
a good idea.
Book boxes always have artist tags. Other authors who are creating character art, go and look at what they're posting and who they're using. Like that's the kind of thing that we do. Artwork is really expensive. So I always try to say that we need to be able to use it in at least 3 different ways, because it is one of the biggest expenses that we have, is other obviously than printing the book. It is the artwork. It isn't cheap. Look, artists are incredible, but they are often a nightmare to work with. Like of all of the people that we have worked with, artists are the biggest nightmare. You have to be really patient. You have to be very clear. And you need very long timelines to work with artists. Is probably like the best advice I can give you. And just make sure that you get like full costings with commercial licenses, pricing up front, so that you know exactly what you're paying for and how much it's going to cost. And how many iterations. We had one artist who will remain nameless, but basically they accepted the kind of description that we had given and then did not send us a sketch. They posted the artwork onto their Instagram feed without even sending it to us. And I was like, this isn't even right. Like, this is very wrong. And it's all finished. And like, you know, so that was kind of, we now insist on a sketch. Like, if you don't have a sketch, we're not going to work with you because we need to make sure that the positions are right, that, you know, but they are slowly but surely, we are finding some really, really good artists that we want to work with long term. But yeah, artists are really difficult to find and to work with.
Yes. Well, it's just they're creative. I remember that from being an art buyer, and I was all about how are you running this business, but they're in a creative right brain mindset. So sometimes deadlines are not something they like. So that's really good advice because we want to work with artists because we don't want to use AI for those kinds of things, but just beware. Just ask questions up front, get things settled up front. So, yeah.
Yeah. What advice do you have for authors on choosing the right mix of products, though, for their platforms and brand? Like, I know for yours, I mean, because we're talking lesbian romance and fantasy, I was surprised in my first Kickstarter box, but I loved it because it was so fun.
Surprises.
Well, it was a vibrator.
Of
And
course.
of course.
I hope my mother is not listening to
I want to
this
show you
podcast.
something. I want to show you something. Like, this is, like, you're going to have to put explicit lyrics on this. I'm sorry.
It's
Angela,
too
we're going to have to fuzz
early.
the screen.
I'm
It's happening,
blushing
it's
because it's too early for me.
Right. So I'm going to be really careful because obviously is this going to go on YouTube?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to be real careful with what I show you. But we now have branded.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Amazing.
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean,
But like when you think about, I mean, just to get back to the product discussion, because yours is very branded and I love that. And I'm here for it because I'm fine. I'm fine with it. I'm here for it. But my question is like, for example, you know, on the branding side of maybe an author who's more thriller genre or fantasy, I think you have a little bit more options. I feel like I have a ton of options being my little Southern self. But like, how do you make those decisions? Were you just like, okay, I'm leaning into the smut side of this and that fantasy element for my readers? Or
So we've learned a few lessons, is what I would say. The spice stuff is not as popular as you would think. So so basically the first Kickstarter we lent into like the spicy bit. The second, so that just had that one little toy. The second Kickstarter we did like a spice box.
right.
And then the third Kickstarter, which was girl games, we went away from that. So this is for the girl games, but that's the only spicy thing. And the rest, we basically had bookish merch. Well, we sold a lot more bookish merch boxes than we did spicy boxes, which we found really interesting. And then we have kind of spoken to some other authors and they've also found the same thing. So there is a small niche. It's not that we sold none, we did. And actually lots of people added on the branded adult toys. So there is an audience for it, but actually bookish people want bookish merch.
Bookish things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then it was a matter of, okay, well, what are the most popular bits of bookish merch? Normally it's things like, well, we did some research and we had a look at what other creators were doing, but mugs are almost always super popular. Tote bags, super popular.
Sure.
Then there were certain things that we wanted to do that were part of the world because that makes the reading an experience, not just book mail. So, for example, do I have one here?
With the coin.
It's the coin. Yeah. So we have a yes/no coin that we had designed. Is it here? Let me just check. So basically, in book one, Scarlett has a coin that is a yes/no coin. Hang on, I'm going to have to take my headphone off. 1 second. And she basically uses it to decide whether or not she's going to off someone. And and
She is
also
an
uses
That's
it.
assassin.
brilliant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and uses it
Everyone,
to make
she's not a baker. She's an assassin. It's
yeah,
strategic.
and she uses it to make other decisions as well, like, you know, is she going to approach the girl that she fancies or, you know, whatever. And of course, oh wait, I've got it. I think I've got it. No, I haven't got it. Anyway, so we had it designed and we had it made, and like
What if you
that
used
was
it for a parking meter? Oh no.
no, I didn't. It is here somewhere.
Well,
I don't
it's
know.
kind of bigger, right?
Oh, the
Yeah,
bigger
it's
point.
like this kind of big, so it's pretty.
Mm,
Anyway, I'm just going to keep talking and hopefully find it. And we had it designed, and it was the most popular item added on, which
Yeah.
isn't
really
that
surprised
amazing?
me.
That's
Yeah,
genius. That's
Mhm.
but
absolutely genius.
it's part of the story, you know? So
Yeah.
I guess there are those elements that make people feel like they're part of the world, but you have to make the strategic choice to like write those in.
Did you
Mhm.
strategically write that in as you were writing it? You were like, oh, yeah, I could have a coin.
Well, kinda, yeah, because I
Yeah.
found this coin online, and that's where the idea came from. So I ordered this for myself, and was like, I would love to have a real one, but didn't think I would ever have the ability or capacity to do that. So I wrote this in essentially, and
Mhm.
then when obviously we realized that we were going to have like the capital to do it, I was like, right, fuck it, we're doing it. Let's have it designed. So yeah, we designed it
I
ourselves
need
and
to
put it
do
in.
that better. Like, I think of products, in all honesty, for Sweetheart Scones and Stories, that series. I actually developed a tea
Yeah, that's
for the
great. I
series.
loved
And
that.
I have it, and it's delicious, and it has little sugar hearts. It's very cutesy, very Peachwood Grove. And I've actually developed the teas for the next 2 series. And I'm like, you know what? My bakery should serve this tea, and I should write it in. What am I
Yeah, it
doing?
should. Yeah, it
Yeah.
should.
Yeah.
The other thing that you can do is insert phrases. Like there are key phrases that become like catchphrases. So like for example,
Yeah.
I know a girl is Sterling's phrase, or hello my angry girl. We
Mhm.
now have in stickers, we've got it on hoodies. You know, so like if you can recognize that or give your characters a thing, a phrase, a statement, a belief, and weave that in, you can then put that on all your products. So like I have got the Angry Girl mug here, but it's in the kitchen. But like that's kind of like become a bit of a thing.
Yeah.
And then of course, as you grow a readership, it moves towards becoming a fandom, and then they want identity. So one of my readers asked me what the fandom was called, and I was like, do I have a fandom? Like, I don't
Yes,
know.
and it's very important. You have to name it.
Well, they came up with the name.
I
And
love
so
that.
I put it on my stories and I was like, look, you know, we've got this name. Can anyone think of anything else? But like we all agreed that it was the best name. So it's the Romantic. So ROE Mantic, like the Romantics. And so of course that's now our next thing that we're gonna do.
I love that.
Right? So we're gonna have it on t-shirts and hoodies, and you know, so now we just refer to them as the Romantics.
It's one of the advices we got from an earlier, I think it might have been Amy, interview guest that we had, and she indicated you really need to ask your audience in your newsletter about things and have
Yeah.
them, you know, be involved and named. And I've got an ALC and advanced listening group because I'm doing all audiobooks right now. And yeah, they named themselves the Southern Bells. And I was like, that's
That's
awesome.
cute.
I love it. You
That's
know,
really
but
cute.
it's fun when you have that participation and people are naming things. I love it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I
And
love
that's how the
So,
Rebel also came about, because I didn't
yeah.
choose that name. Somebody else chose it. Icy Cedric
Really?
chose it. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
That's
So
awesome.
if like in my newest romance, Roxanne calls Duke Cowboy Ken, do I make a Ken doll?
My God. Or at least clothes. I want that Elvis outfit,
Yeah.
Angela.
All those
Sorry.
little
Hopefully that's
stickers,
not a
you know,
spoiler.
like I would want to start with the stickers.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Gosh.
Well,
A
and
bookmark, one of
I
those magnet bookmarks that
purposely,
folds over, Angela.
well, yes, because I purposely said it in Colorado because all we do is sell Colorado souvenirs. I have already in my store printed Colorado things.
Yeah.
And I have all the vendors who can make Firebird Ranch merch or whatever. So
Yeah.
I did do that one thing right, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna write some Colorado ones because I already have all the merchandise.
Yeah. That's
I already
smart.
have all the vendors who can print anything I need for them, so that's going to be easier once that book comes out. So, but that is part of growing your business, right? Is thinking, even if you're not there yet, for listeners who are like, I've only written 2 books, should I be thinking about merchandise? But I would say, I mean, I don't know. I don't want people to get discouraged like, well, I'm not there yet. But I still think you should, because you may want to write something into a future story that you can use later,
I think you should think
right?
about it differently.
Okay.
Think about
Yeah.
it in terms of belonging, right? Like, what can your readers belong to? And
Right.
because
Yeah, that's good.
belonging, like, if you think about, I need to think of a different example. The Zodiac Academy, and
Mhm.
like the houses or the different zodiac signs, like readers can belong
Yes.
to that, right? Or like different houses in a dark academia, right? Oh, I belong to this house or that house.
Right.
So you can think about it and think about it in terms of that, because readers will belong to a part of your story, and then whatever they belong to becomes the merch.
Right. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. No, that's something great and tangible, because I think that's what started to overwhelm me. Was I was wanting to get ahead of myself, and like, oh, I should plan this for this. And I did that with the sci-fi, like starting to plan like merchandise, and I'm like, you know what? not even finishing that series right now, but it is still something to keep in the back of your mind. I still like, what can they belong to as you are creating the universe, or whether you're in your first book or your 20th book.
Huh.
That's part of creating this whole world for your readers. So,
So
yeah,
true. So
so
true.
true.
I have a bonus question to ask. Um,
Is it
since
spicy? Oh my
no,
God. We get so spicy.
no, I'll prepare you. I'm just wondering, I mean, do you consider yourself more of an author entrepreneur at this point, Sasha? And I'm kind of wondering, did you ever have those discussions with yourself? Because we've had discussions about, people saying, oh, I'm a writer until I publish, then I'm an author, which I think's crazy. But a lot of people will say, I'm an author or I'm an author entrepreneur. And I find that really interesting, that dichotomy. How do you describe yourself?
Suggested that I was a digital commerce author,
Mm,
because I
Mm,
have my own website and kind of warehouse, which I thought was a really interesting
yeah.
um, prospect. I have always seen myself as an entrepreneur, always.
yeah.
Mm, I love business. Like, I love it. I love marketing. I love selling, and I love writing. So I am really lucky that I love
Hmm.
all of those things, because I think it is the perfect trifecta for being an author entrepreneur. So yeah, I definitely think I am an entrepreneur as well as an author. I always say I'm an author first. That is the first thing that, if people ask me what my job
Right.
is, I say I'm an author, because that is my job, because there is no entrepreneur without the books. Like, without the books, there's
Yeah,
Yeah.
no
without that
product.
product.
Right. So I am
Yeah.
an author first. And funnily enough, like, the bigger my team has become, the more I'm stepping back to just doing the writing. And
That's
so,
amazing.
yeah,
That's the
I'm
goal.
almost more of an author now than I've ever been, if that makes sense, even though I'm running
Yeah.
a bigger business. Yeah.
That's
And
great.
I think that starts with, a coach asked me during my first book, because I was like, I was really just stitching a story together, and I was like, I really want this in there. And she was like, that's really not how you stitch a story together. And I was like, why? I really was just writing. And she asked me, is this a hobby, or do you want to make money? And
Yeah.
I was like, well, I want to make money. I'm not doing this for my health. I love writing, but I love selling too. I'm a salesperson. I'm a buyer, a salesperson. I love merchandising. I love all of it. That's been my background. So I
Right.
want to just take all that and put it into my author business. And she was like, okay, well, then you need to follow some rules. And rules, as far as like, we know that we, like you said in the beginning, Sasha, we want to write what we want, but we also need to manage some reader expectations. I can't just go off the rails and write, this romance that doesn't fit into any genre or doesn't follow any tropes. I mean, there are some readers that like, if you're writing enemies to lovers, here's some basics. So once I answered that question, I went full throttle into, nope, this is my career. It's not a hobby. And that's like the first question I think you need
Yeah.
to answer, you know?
Yeah. And I think that there's a lot of hard truths in the answers. So, like, writing, the act of writing, the act is about you, the creator. If you want to sell, then it's not about you. It is
Mhm.
Yep.
about the reader. And unfortunately, in order to sell, you have to deliver what readers want,
Right.
which means you have to write what readers want. Otherwise, they're not going to buy it, right?
Mhm.
So this is where writers, newer writers, get really uppity, because what they want is they want to be able to write their obscure story about frog spawn and be able to sell 1 million copies, right?
Right.
But that's not how it works. Like, James Dyson didn't make a Hoover that he wanted. He made a Hoover that was functional for millions of customers. If you want to sell, if your goal is to live off your writing, then you have to find a group of readers that either want your frog spawn story, or you have to be precious about the act of writing, but not the content that you're writing.
Right.
And that's the hard truth of it, right? Like, unless you can find a genre that you are passionate about that readers also want. That obviously is the holy grail. And that's what I wish for every writer, that they find that. Because
Yeah.
like, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that isn't possible for everybody, because not everybody likes what is selling.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
So
there are
good.
also, here's the other thing, right? Like, you don't have to be in the top 100 to be making a buttload of money. I make more money on my website than I do on Amazon. So,
Yep.
you don't have to be in the top 100, the top 500 to be making a very healthy living. Even on
Right.
Amazon, I make over 10 grand a month on Amazon, and my books are nowhere near the top anything. Not even the top
Right.
5,000, not even the top 10,000. I'm still making 10 grand a month, over 10 grand. So
Yeah.
don't let what seems like you have to do. It's not always there's a lot of smoke and mirrors.
That's
Yeah.
really great advice. It's been hard for me because I've gone into short stories and I'm loving it, but I'm not necessarily following the path of what I was taught the summer before. And I'm kind of breaking out into my own little road, which is very creative, Cassie, but I also see a missing side of that market. So I'm trying to go for that. And I recognize that that's what you did. You saw a piece missing in the market, because I think sometimes too, there's this creative side of us that is like, yeah, I want to write the obscure thing, but how do I make it fit the market? And that's really tough versus really looking and studying the market too. I think that's
Yeah.
really important.
Yeah.
So
All good stuff. I'm making more selling in our stores than I am on Amazon. My
there's another
paperbacks,
hard truth,
I'm
right? I mean, so Sasha. Yeah.
stocking every week, but I'm hitting the tourist season too. And I've got a store in Scottsdale that's selling. And so I'm actually doing better in those in-persons,
People do. There are lots of authors making really good money at conventions.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I say, like, there is no one way. Like, you could make a living doing in-person events. Whether or not you could make $500,000 a year on
Right.
in-person events, I'm not sure.
Totally.
And that's
Yeah.
why I come back to, what is your goal? Do you want to make 50 grand a year? Would you be happy at 50 grand? Would you be happy at 100 grand? Those are different things. They're different models. If you want 1 million, you need staff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I think I'll adjust. I think 50 grand is okay.
And
Or
I'm like,
10.
no, I want to go to 200,000. I want that so bad. But at the
Well,
same time,
sometimes
I'm fearful to go outside of Amazon right now because my current goal is to build, because I'm zero. So I'm going to stay that plane right now and then dream for 2026.
Yeah.
I do think Amazon does serve its purpose for unknowns and starting outs.
I used
Yeah.
KU for 2
Yeah.
years. I used KU,
Yeah.
and then I came out in
Yeah.
January. So yeah, I think it makes a big difference.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, we have
We're
one
at the
last task.
Yeah, and I didn't prep her for this. So, at the end of our podcast, we do a thing called Table Topics, and it's just to get to know you, very random. So fun.
It's a hot seat question. It's out of this bin. It's an actual game. This is actually very fitting for our conversation, but my answer is going to be the most boring. Okay, what's a taboo you haven't tried but are curious about?
Taboo? I don't define taboo. Wait a minute.
Something that society thinks is taboo.
I think I'm like taboo. I live taboo.
Right. It's everyday Sasha.
I think my answer is going to be boring too. I don't know.
Oh, I thought we were going to get some spicy reactions out of this crowd.
Well, what's your taboo, Angela? You answer first.
I am the most vanilla person you know. I
haven't tried.
Right.
My
I think
God.
that's where she's struggling. I have not tried any taboos, nor do I know what they are. But she's like, which one do I choose? I wonder if it's like, would you eat bugs for what are some taboos? Let me look it up here.
Been to Torture Gardens, which is like a festival for like BDSM.
Okay. Yes.
I totally want to go to that. That's what I would want to do.
Gosh.
You would
according
want to go to one and check it
Mhm.
out.
Mhm.
Well, if we're
Okay.
going in that realm, I've never been to a sex club. I think it might be interesting.
Yeah, you should go.
Here's ready for the Google list of taboos. Anything from wearing shoes indoors, asking a lady's age, to bestiality.
God, that's quite the range.
Not tried that.
No,
Do not want to
that's
try
not
that.
there. But
I
I
think-
do love to dip my French fries in mayonnaise, and a lot of people don't like
Okay, that is a taboo thing. Do you like mayonnaise on your grilled cheese? And the answer
that.
is no.
No, not on grilled cheese.
That's a thing. Mayonnaise with grilled cheese. Or jalapeno peanut butter sandwiches, which I know someone who eats those and they shall remain
Is it you?
nameless. No. Gross. Ew. Anyway, I think that's a good way to end.
All
You haven't given us a taboo.
I think I'd go with, well, probably like eating bugs. I know lots of civilizations and cultures in the world do, but that's taboo for
Grasshoppers
me.
dipped in chocolate.
I'll
Would you
try
do
it. Sure. If there was nothing else on the menu, I'd try it. Yeah.
I love.
Okay. See, we're all
All
learning.
right. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today, Sasha.
Thank you for
I
having
really
me.
appreciate you being here. This is so fun.
This was fun. So fun.
Don't forget to give us a review for our listeners or those that are watching. Reviews and ratings wherever you listen on the podcast. It really helps with visibility. Next week, Angela will be leading an episode on how to grow your business with personal sales. And until then, keep writing, keep doing. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks for joining today's episode of The Author Next Door. Be sure to like, follow, and tell us your thoughts of this week's episode. Angela and Cassie would love to hear from you.